As we're getting ready to begin our back to school event, we want to pause to acknowledge the land on which each of us reside, the ancestral lands of Native Americans. So I invite you to go to this URL. I'm sure it's going to show up in the chat section momentarily. And you can input your zip code and find out, if you do not currently know, which Native Americans were located in the area where you currently reside. And then if you could put that in our chat, we'd love to see that, you know, you're from X town in Ohio and the native lands are, and then you describe them. So please go ahead and do that. Welcome as people continue to join us. We're up to 23. That's excellent. Glad you could spend an hour with us this afternoon. We're inviting everybody to put in the chat the place where they're from currently now, and then whose ancestral lands were they? And you can find that out if you do not know by going to the link that appears on the screen, the www.native-land.ca. It's a Canadian website that makes use of a database to provide you with that information. Excellent, thanks Marie. And I saw Susan got her list in there, wonderful. Yeah. Ah, Marianne, thank you. Checking in from Washington. So we go from Washington to Maine so far, and we're down to Oklahoma. Wonderful. Yeah, and I'm on the other side of Pennsylvania from Jen there, and ours are the Lenni Lenape. Yeah, very good. So please, if you're just joining us, and we have 28 participants now, we had 88 people register, and if our statistics hold true, we're going to have 44 present today. We usually get just about 50% attending our events. Please go to that website that you see listed there, insert your zip code, and you'll find out the territories of Native Americans upon whose land you are now living in the 21st century. So, excellent. And I think we'll move on to the next slide, Jason. We want to give thanks for all the tribal nations that are reflected here, those on which the Churchwide office resides, and those that have been listed in the chat. And we also recognize and honor all Indigenous siblings who have and continue to call these lands their home. I want to draw your attention to the availability of Spanish translation during this event. Go to the chat where you can learn how to access the Spanish translation. We are so thankful that Susan Humphrey is with us today. Susan is a former Churchwide Executive Board member, and she's currently the president of the Arkansas-Oklahoma Synodical Women's Organization. She is hosting this hour-long event today. Among her many roles that Susan's had in the past, she has been a school teacher. And so she knows her way around an open house or two. And so Susan, lead us on our open house.
Good afternoon, ladies. How are you all today? I am coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it is 91 degrees and sunny. And it's a beautiful day here, so I hope it is for you wherever you are. I am just very excited about being with you today. It's great to have so many of you with us, and hopefully we'll have a few more join us as we continue on. Back to schools are not something that I am unfamiliar with. I've been to many back to schools. Now, today, though, I Linda gave me all these wonderful words to say, and she knows I'm going off script. I have with you what I start every school year with. My favorite thing is a box of crayons. Anybody else like the smell of new crayons? Yeah, I might be the only one. I don't know. These two flavors were out this year, and I just wanted to share them with you. There's one called Bold, whoops, this one, Bold and Bright, and the other one is Colors of Kindness. And I thought they are very appropriate for who we are today. We are women of the ELCA that are bold and bright, very smart ladies. And Colors of Kindness is exactly what we are trying to work towards as we teach and share all of our information with other women across the whole of women of the ELCA. Let's see, I got to go back to all my things that she told me to say here now. Let's see. Today we're going to share a little tour of different things in the classroom in the school. We're going to meet with different people and become orientated to a whole new year. For many of us, this will be the first program year that we are meeting in person since the fall of 2019. Some of us will continue to meet online, and some of us will do some kind of a hybrid event, which is what we'll be doing for Arkansas, Oklahoma this fall. We took that all into account when we planned today's open house. The church-wide organization has focused on leadership this year, recognizing that our current circumstances requires all of us to take a fresh new look at what it means to be leaders in this organization. We have a servant leader experience in February called For Such a Time as This, where we took our clues about leadership from Esther. You can download resources and watch the videos from this event at the URL listed in the chat. So if you'll go look at that, you'll know where to go. Then in April and May, we offered training sessions for several specific groups of leaders, and some of you may have participated in that also. Synodical officers and board members, conference and cluster leaders. Videos from those training events are also now available for you when you go to Tools for Leaders tab at WELCA.org. And now today we have gathered to look at many resources made available by the church-wide organization for use in congregations. Now, some of you have probably used many of these resources before, and some of you are probably brand new to this and are going to be learning new things today. So we're hoping that everyone will get something from these. You're in for a real treat. We'll leave this session inspired to plan a whole new wonderful year. The first stop in our open house today is the school auditorium, where we would be having our orientation. Linda Post-Bushkovsky is going to explain some of the basics that you'll need to know for a new year. So welcome to Back to School Fun. Linda?
Thank you, Susan. I am going to introduce you all to the staff, the women who will support you in this coming year. We manage the day-to-day business of the organization. We execute the plans that are established by the Triennial Convention and the Executive Board, and we are your resources available by phone, email, and on social media. Our primary job is to support you as you live out your baptismal promise. Now, these faces should be familiar to many of you. Between the five of us, we have over 100 years of experience with women of the ELCA. Starting with the bottom row at the right, we have Eva James Yo. Eva is the Director for Membership. She fields all questions about units. If you want to revitalize your unit, contact Eva. If you want to start a new unit, contact Eva. And Eva offers primary support to our synodical organizations. Now, in the bottom row in the middle is Valora Starr. Valora is the Director for Programs. She can help you find the right program for your needs. She helps design events like these, and she oversees the scholarship program we have and the health initiative known as Raising Up Healthy Women and Girls. And finally, Valora is the primary contact for all things international. On the bottom row in the left is Elizabeth McBride. Beth is the Director for Digital Engagement. If you follow any of our social media accounts, you see Elizabeth's work in the many posts and memes we publish. Beth does all things website for WELCA.org, GatherMagazine.org, and BoldCafe.org. She's also the editor of BoldCafe.org, our award-winning online magazine and podcast for and with young adult women. She thinks up and designs digital events. Now, on the top row on the right is Elizabeth Hunter. Elizabeth is the editor of Gather, Women of the ELCA's award-winning print magazine. She's responsible for publishing, planning, editing, and managing the magazine, and its advertising too. If you have questions about the magazine in general or its Bible study in particular, Liz Hunter is the woman to contact. Normally, you'd also see a photo of a managing editor for the magazine here, but that position is currently open. And finally, a picture of me on the top row left. I'm Linda Post-Bushkovsky, the executive director. I'm responsible for the overall management and direction of the staff. I'm responsible for seeing that the policies and plans of the organization are met. I work closely with participants, synodical officers and boards, ecumenical partners, and other offices and expressions of the ELCA. And if you call our main number, you'll often hear me on the other end of the line. So whenever you have a question or you need some help about anything Women of the ELCA related, contact one of the staff and we'll be happy to assist. Now, the next stop on this open house is to the library. Beth McBride will be your host there.
Thank you, Linda. Welcome to the library. The church-wide organization offers a wide range of resources to help you in living out the mission and purpose of Women of the ELCA. I'm going to cover a lot of information, but don't worry, we were going to send you an email next week with some of the topics that we covered. So you don't have to take notes and there won't be a test. So starting out, yes, next slide, please. So WELCA.org is our main website, and leaders can use the Tools for Leaders section that Susan referenced. You can click that. The Tools for Leaders section features administrative support, constitutions, and tips for treasurers. There you go. Excellent. And all users, whether you're a leader or not, a new user, you can enjoy our resources. We offer over 40 resources for retreats, content for your monthly meetings, and multi-session adult ed classes, and more. And the best part is that they are all translated and available in Spanish. You can click that link. Thank you. We also have a weekly blog on this website, and it features current events and news, all through the lens of our mission and purpose statement. We also offer, thank you, we also offer a daily devotional app called Daily Grace. And the content features our award-winning content from Gather, Bold Cafe, excuse me, and our blog. But my favorite part of the website is our events section. At welca.org/events, you can see all of upcoming in-person and virtual events. You can go to the next slide, please. Great. So one of the events that's coming up in October is the Bold Cafe monthly dinner. So that is, you can advance the slide, please. That is this event is sponsored by Bold Cafe, our magazine. And we meet the first week of every month, and it's available on Zoom, and it's a lot of fun. And you are all invited to attend. Our next Bold Cafe dinner is Thursday, October 6th, and we will be celebrating 2 years of meeting in this community. In addition, also on our events page, you can find a link to our 12th Triennial Convention, which is coming up in almost a year. It's in person in Phoenix. There are also links in Tools for Leaders that will lead you to the convention site. In addition, following immediately from the convention is the Just Love Gathering, also in Phoenix. You can click that. That website is welcatg.org, but you'll see that again in our presentation. So we have a lot of exciting events in this area. For instance, we have a church-wide thank offering service coming, an Advent devotion from Gather, and a Blue Christmas service. But in order to stay in touch so you can learn about these great events, we encourage you to subscribe to Bold Connections. That is our monthly e-newsletter, and it features all of the up-to-date information that you need to stay connected. You can even subscribe today, and you can do that by either following welca.org/publications and clicking the link. You can click the slide, or you can go to every page on our website at the bottom. It says join our newsletter. That's how you get Bold Connections. You can click that. There's a couple of things, and it'll arrive in your email box. Okay, there you go. There's one more click. Sorry, I have a lot of clicks. One more click. Okay, and we're going to move on to the next slide. And we are excellent. So Gather magazine, as Linda had mentioned, is available by subscription, and also the digital version is also available by subscription, and it publishes 6 times a year. You can visit gathermagazine.org for more information. You can also press the subscribe button. You can click that slide and we'll show you what that page looks like. And you can subscribe there on the website or by phone. So that was a lot of information. But now it's time for some fun. A lot of more fun, I should say. For some extracurricular options, Eva Yo is here to tell you more.
Thank you, Beth. And hello, everyone. We want to remind you of all the extracurricular activities that are available for you. There are lots of additional ways to engage with the churchwide organization of Women of the ELCA. There's our health initiative, Raising Up Healthy Women and Girls. It seeks to support our emotional, spiritual, and physical health. Seed grants are available through Raising Up Healthy Women and Girls for health-related programs sponsored by your congregational units. Faithful Friends is our automatic online giving program. You can make an automatic monthly gift to the churchwide organization using your credit card or through a checking account. To learn more, you can go to our website, and that URL should be listed for you. You can gather with Lutheran women from across the whole church at our triennial gatherings. The next one, as Beth mentioned, is in September 2023 with the theme, Just Love. Check out welcatg.org later this fall, where you'll find program information and news about registering for this exciting event. Most of you have heard about Katie's Fund. It is a 12-year-old endowment that supports resources and programs for women of the ELCA participants in 3 areas. The first one is leadership development, global partnership, and living theology. In June, we launched a campaign to raise $1 million for Katie's Fund. We invite you to prayerfully consider how you might participate in the campaign, and information is available on our website, welca.org, Katie's Fund. What a lot of extracurricular activities. Which one will you sign up for? I am very excited about all of them and trying to figure out which one will best fit me. Do you need more information? Contact any staff member who will be happy to assist. And now it's time to visit your classroom with your host, Elizabeth Hunter.
Welcome. It's a new year, and if you think like a teacher, you know there are plans in place for the whole year, subjects to cover, projects to create, goals to be achieved. If you think like a student, however, you know that this year will not be the same as the last. You're in a different room. There are different classmates, different subjects, different expectations. You're going to have new experiences, and some things won't be there. Remember the realization that high school does not include recess or a playground? So let's apply those concepts to women of the ELCA. In your unit, you need to put a plan together for the year. Just as a teacher does, you have to figure out what you will cover, what activities your group will engage in, and what you want to achieve in the year. For teachers, they get their direction from the state and their school district. For women of the ELCA participants, we get our directions from Triennial Convention Actions and our church-wide executive board. You'll learn more about this in the planning session that's coming up shortly. But going back to being a student, if you think like a student, it's quite all right for your unit to have some new experiences. Maybe this year you'll meet in a local restaurant instead of at the church. Maybe you'll meet quarterly instead of monthly. Perhaps your meeting day will be Saturdays over brunch instead of Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Maybe there will be some new faces as you gather together. And just as recess doesn't happen for high school students, maybe there will be some things you did in the past that you no longer do. And all of this is good. So that was a quick trip around the school. You likely have some questions, and you might have been inspired to try something new. We're going to spend the next 8 minutes in small breakout groups. And we have 2 questions for you to discuss during your time together. First, what could you see yourself using or getting involved in this year? So there's going to be a new slide to come up for that. What could you see yourself using or getting involved in this year? And number 2, what will be the most challenging for you with that new program or resource? What will be the most challenging for you with that new program or resource? I'll let our MC take over now.
I think we're ready to go into our small groups. Our technician is going to assign us to rooms, and please answer these 2 questions and you'll get a notice when it's time to come back to the plenary.
Stirring and inspiring you in thinking about the work we have before us, and hoping your answers will jumpstart your thinking about how you will contribute to planning for the next 12 months. Can you remember your first day of 4th grade? Well, my nephew Miles' mom asked him how was his first day of 4th grade as he got into the car. And he said his first day of 4th grade was awkward because none of them knew how to do 4th grade. Well, you'd have to know Miles to know how that answer goes. And how many of you can remember your first science project or your first oral presentation on a famous person? And how about that first term paper with index cards and outlines and footnotes and the bibliography? Most of these assignments were on top of the students' daily classwork and homework. They were gigantic, and usually it was like nothing we had ever done before. And like Miles and his classmates, it's awkward. These exercises are designed to stretch the student, to shape our ability to search and analyze and explore and experience dinosaurs in a different way. So welcome to planning how we will learn and to do our homework for the next 12 months. Every good student, disciple, always has homework. Now, I don't think my parents made that up. Our purpose statement reminds us that we are a community of women created in the image of God, called to discipleship in Jesus Christ, and empowered by the Holy Spirit. Disciples are students, and students are learners and imitators of our teachers. Every good teacher knows that when thirsty students enjoy learning, it is the result of good teaching. We are disciples in the classroom of Jesus, and there is always something new to learn. And as Miles and his buddies discovered, it's awkward because we've never been here in this space and time before. Homework is a faith practice. Our purpose statement reminds us that we commit ourselves to grow in faith, affirm our gifts, support one another in our callings, engage in ministry and action, and promote healing and wholeness in the church, the society, and the world. The purpose statement is the game plan. We share one purpose across the entire organization. We'll each work to achieve that purpose in a different way, and that's all good. Homework is a daily practice. Committing, growing, affirming, using our gifts, supporting others and receiving support, recognizing our calling and what God is calling us to. We are to be actively engaged doing ministry and promoting it everywhere we go and are. That's the church, society, and the world. Homework is our contribution to collective work. Our work daily is to do our homework as assigned. Now, God has a plan, and it's stated in Jeremiah 29:11 that says, I know the plan I have for you, declares the Lord. And what are those plans? Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope for a future. And like God, so should we. Yes, each disciple and the collective we, WELCA, has a plan. And so where does this plan for WELCA come from? Glad you asked. Our purpose and mission statement are the frame for what God has called us to do. This does not change until it is complete. The work of the current executive board, guided by triennial convention actions, shapes the plan for a given time and space. And when we all focus on the same work, we are further on the road to completing our mission. This plan is like classroom work. It's the time for introducing and teaching the foundation and fundamentals with limited examples and experiencing how this new knowledge will help us in the future. And homework is a continuation of classwork, repeating the examples and experiences until the new knowledge becomes part of our discipline. A teacher's plan may call for each student to make a presentation on, let's say, the life of dinosaurs. And after some basic teaching about these magnificent creatures, she gives the students the parameters for the assignment and the timeline for the presentation to the class. The student sets pace for a deeper dive, and with help from their friends, elder, siblings, and parents, the student decides how deep their dive will be. Within the parameters, the student sets out to create their presentation. Excited, they gather their content and envision the presentation. They set out boots on the ground or sneakers on the street, working their angle. Now, both Jada and Caden, my niece and nephew, living on two different coasts, unknowingly chose to focus on the T-Rex. We read books on the phone and FaceTiming together about the T-Rex. Their families coordinated visits to Auntie Val and the Chicago Field Museum to spend time together with Sue, who is the best preserved Tyrannosaurus Rex ever found. Their class presentations were vastly different. Caden was all about the excavation and how Sue was discovered. And Jada brought Sue into the future and wowed her class and teacher with what the world would be like today if dinosaurs still lived with us. These two little scholars were invested in learning and completing the assignment and making their best presentation, so they put their best work forward. And the teacher's overall plan was accomplished. Now, just like this exercise, the priorities bubbled up as women met in synodical conventions. Those concerned went to the triennial conventions as memorials. At the convention, they were discussed and voted on. So you can go to Tools for Leaders tab at WELCA.org, and you'll find a link on the right-hand side to a listing of all the actions we were called to address. You in your congregational units can't act on all of these memorials, but you can find the topics that resonate with your community and get to work. Together, we'll get it all done, each doing our part. Our church-wide executive board recommitted the entire organization to view all of its work through an anti-racism lens. With awareness raising, we are called to educate ourselves and others about racism in the church, the society, and the world. With accompaniment, European descent women, the majority of our organization, are asked to walk in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and people of color, women in the struggle for racial equality and equity. The bottom line is developing authentic relationships with Black, Indigenous, and people of color women. With advocacy, we are called to live out our Lutheran belief that governments can help advance the common good, focusing specifically on anti-racism issues. And just as with the priority set by the triennial gathering, how each of us accomplishes the work of awareness, accompaniment, and advocacy will differ. But with all of us doing our part, yes, we'll get the job done. Now, during the 2 years of pandemic isolation, we suffered great loss financially, active participants, units disbanding, and we have done some creative and incredible ministry as well. And 12 months of Just Love planning will help us invite women out of isolation and into a movement of women engaging in ministry and action and promoting healing and wholeness in the church, the society, and the world. This planning process will inspire working together in these focus areas and telling our story about how God is showing up. And in September 2023, we will come together and celebrate in convention and gathering. Churchwide will support your planning. And on the website under events, there are monthly calendars with activities and resources that will help you to do your sneakers on the street work around the actions or focus you have chosen. You will need to go there often to find new information, reports, and stuff to celebrate through October 2023. Because WELCA is a leaderful, that's 2 L's, community, we are looking for 100 women, bold women, who can imagine this work. 100 women who can gather with a group of women who share your enthusiasm in your unit or synodical organization, but not required. And these 100 women who can move forward the action or focus that gets your blood pumping. Staff will walk with you and document your story and celebrate you and these ministries in Phoenix 1 year from now. If this sounds like your cup of tea, email Linda and simply type yes in the subject line. Now back to you, Susan.
That sounds like a wonderful challenge for all of us, and we need to be thinking about being that one in the 100. Now, we're going to spend the next 20 minutes in conversation. This will be kind of our collaborative learning process. We're going to take the time to answer some questions. You can place the questions in the chat, and our staff or our teachers will be answering some of those questions. I think, Beth, you're going to be manning the chat room, the chat line, okay? And then if you have a question and you can't figure out how to do the chat, or you want to just ask it, raise your hand, and we will all be looking for those raised hands. You can also do the little icon that raises your hand, and we will look at those questions also and try to share some of our wisdom together. You might want to know about a particular resource, how to use it. Maybe you have a question about a constitutional provision. Maybe it's a question about the $1 million campaign for Katie's Fund. Whatever it is, now is the time for our collaborative learning to happen. And hopefully we can get you some of the answers. And if we don't have those answers right now, we will be taking those questions and getting back to you with answers at a later date. But please take a second and start typing. Everybody's quiet. Any questions?
With this small of a group, you probably could also just unmute and start talking if that's easier. I know some people have trouble with the chat.
Yes. Okay, so there's a question already that's popped up. Can you speak to the $1,000 grants that have come out for each of the synodical organizations? Linda, do you want to field that one, or someone else?
Sure, I'll be happy to. Yeah, the executive board, on the recommendation of the leadership team for the campaign, determined that every SWO will receive a $1,000 grant from Katie's Fund, and it is to be used by the SWO for one or perhaps more of the principles that Katie's Fund supports, which are leadership development, global partnership, and living theology. We're getting those checks ready, and they'll be coming out shortly. And the goal is for you to engage in something. I mean, the only limitation is your creativity, really. And then you're to accomplish this activity, whatever it is, an event, a resource, a support, whatever it is, by the time of the end of August next year, so we can celebrate and tell those stories when we gather together in Phoenix next September.
Okay, I see there's also a couple of questions now about the 100 Bold Women Initiative. All of these ladies want to be bold women, so they want to know what they're getting themselves into. So Linda, we're taking that right back to you. Do you have some more information about that?
I think I'm going to have Valora answer that question.
Okay, Valora, up to you.
Sure, I would be more than happy to explain it. So as we're thinking about this work, sometimes it takes a little while for synodical leaders to get things moving. And so I thought that it would just be wonderful if 100 women would say, yeah, let me start it. So you could start it with 3 women in your congregation, or from a bunch of congregations, and just kind of say, hey, if you, let's say that we want to work on trafficking, and you have 3 friends that are really interested in that work, and then you would contact me and let us know what you're doing, and then I would help you in that work with resources that we have, and would track what you're doing so that we can celebrate that when we come to Phoenix in September of 2023.
And Valora, are you looking specifically for those things that these 100 Bold Women to be part of what our awareness and advocacy, those types of areas, so that we can highlight those?
Yes, so if you go to that link and look on the right-hand side of all of the memorial actions that at our last convention came forward, if you choose from one of those or from the work that the emphasis that the churchwide board has set out for us, or something around our health initiative, any of those things, those are all part of the work, the homework that we should be doing to bring forward as a part of the whole plan for women of the ELCA. I hope that's clear as mud now. How's
Much
that?
clearer. Does that help? Anybody else have another question about that?
Great.
Okay. I also see that the question about resources available for the Katie 2021-22 campaign that we have going on. So Linda,
I'll
again?
field that one. Yeah, I'll be happy to answer that one. Right now, the primary resources that you have available to use yourselves are the recently created video. It's about 6 minutes long. You can download that from welca.org/Katie's Fund and make use of it there. It's also on YouTube, and you can watch it there. You can show it at events. You can use it in your circle, whatever. And we have a pledge form in case the women that you're talking with wish to make a 3-year pledge to the campaign. And we have several stories online, also on welca.org/Katie's Fund, that tell what we've been able to do over the years with the help of Katie's Fund. Always by telling a story, I think you do a good job of inspiring someone to join the effort. Right now, the leadership team is focusing on making calls and visits to individual women. This is a new thing for us to try to do a real, significant campaign like this, where we ask individual women to make substantial gifts. And so that's where our efforts are right now. There are materials that you can use for sure, and then they are on that website. As we move into the new year, we'll look to groups of women who might want to support Katie's Fund. That could be your own circle. It could be a giving circle in your community that you're part of. It could be maybe a whole congregation or a SWO or a conference, a cluster, whatever. And then we'll have more materials available for use at that point. But right now, what we have available for public use really is a little focused, all on the website. That's where you go. You'll always get everything you need there. But we're making those individual visits to women to see what kind of support they can offer.
Okay. As a member of the leadership team, I would also like to extend at this point in time a challenge to all of you to be part of the Katie's Fund campaign and to put your gift in there also. And if you know of someone in your synodical area, your congregational unit, or just a friend that you think might be open to giving a gift to Katie's Fund, or if you yourself are that person, please contact us so that we know that. We don't have ESP to know exactly where everybody is at on this, but we would love to be able to help you help others. So please give us a call about that. Okay, are there any other questions? See a couple of other things here. Okay, the resources have now been listed. How many of you, I guess I'll ask a question. How many of you have used some of the resources from the Women of the ELCA website for different events at your churches? If so, raise your hands so we can see if you're all still alive and awake out there. They are. Okay, good. I have been using certain ones for years now, since I've been involved with this organization. I pulled out my favorite today. And Valora, this is not because I need to, do anything special for you, but my favorite resource happens to be one that Valora wrote, and it's Lessons for Today's Disciples. It has every piece in here that I have used so many times for so many different events, for single day events, for conventions. I pulled things out of this just for our regular Bible studies. I finally had to put mine into a notebook because I finally used the pages up too much. And I do know that our staff is very good. If you ask them to come and help you with things like that, they can make themselves available. And Valora has been wonderful about coming and just talking a little bit about that. So when you're looking for resources, don't look any farther than our staff sometimes, but also look to each other to find out who's used what, how, and where. And you have permission to change things up and use it the way you want to. There's not one way to use any of these resources, right, girls? I'm trying to see if you're all still alive. Yes, you are. Okay. Any other questions? You're so quiet. Unmute yourself if you have a question and just ask.
I had just a basic question. Where did you get those crayons?
Oh, Walmart. When I walked in for getting school supplies from my granddaughter, these are the first two. And she goes, oh no, you're not going to get crayons again. You get crayons every year. And I said, yes, I am, because these are really cool. So yes, just walked into Walmart and picked them up. So I'll be using both of these this year. The names of the colors of kindness ones are really cool. Heart to heart, rise above, sky's the limit, spread your wings, breathe deep. Those are the names of the colors. This is going to be a whole lesson at some point in time. Staff, do you have any questions of the women that are here? Anything that you'd like to know? How are you using things? Anything.
I have a question, Susan. And that would be, what would help you in your congregational units that we do not currently provide?
Good question.
Yeah.
Ladies?
What do you need?
Before someone answers, I saw Patricia raise her hand.
Okay.
Yeah,
Patricia.
I was just kind of curious. I mean, the whole point is that we need people, and I don't know. I mean, I've tried several things, and we're still trying something again tomorrow to bring in people, but most of our congregations, at least mine is, and a lot of them in our synod are older people. I'm in that group too. I'm probably the younger in that group, but I'm still in that older group. And I feel that the ladies kind of get to the point they want to give up. And so I work really hard to try to figure out things where they don't have to walk a lot, or they don't have to sew because they can't see, or they don't have to listen to things necessarily, that they can hear real well, but still want to come up with things to involve them, you know, not make them in charge of anything, but make them still feel like they're a part of it. And I'm failing miserably at that. And I mean, I don't have a lot of younger women to get it. Plus, I was reading today that, you know, our organization started 1800 years ago, not 1800 years ago, but in the 1800s, basically. And that was when we didn't have a voice. And now women have bigger voices. So how is it that we bring them in to show them that we're still out there making a difference, and making a big difference?
Okay, I'll offer a couple of comments. You know, I've done a lot of history research on our women's organizations. And one of the things that I find most comforting is that all of the organizations going back into the 1800s always struggled with having younger women involved in the organizations. And, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why that is. But I think a basic start is simply to have conversations with and be in conversation with, in community with younger women. And by doing that, you'll be able to learn what their needs are and how the community can help meet those needs. You know, they're going to be different everywhere. It's going to be different in an urban setting than a rural setting. And it may be different where you have young women who are professional women versus young women who are raising children. And you just have to get to know each other. And I know one of the challenges can be that there aren't that many young women or young people at all in some of our congregations right now. And so then that's a bigger conversation to have with others in your congregation too. And maybe it's, you know, combining with some women from the United Methodist Church down the street, or working with a, you know, a women's group in your community to try and reach out to younger women and get to know women there. But I'd say ground everything in relationship with younger women and then ask those questions there. That's the place to start.
done that. We're still working on it.
Yeah, and I would say too, Patricia, I think that at some point we try to eat the whole elephant at once, you know, so that things are just massive. And so I would encourage you to start where you are with the women who are just around you. And when it's time for the young women to show up, they will. For congregations that, as Linda has said, that don't have any young people at all, it is almost impossible to sit and wait for them to come, because you're there, and God has still called you to something and to be a part of something. And so as a part of the body of Christ, as women, start to make those conversations about what it is that you all need and what it is that you can give to one another, because that's what our purpose statement calls us for, is to care for each other where we are, and to do what you can, not all of it, but to do what you can in your context, and then to make that the launching place for those bigger things that you want to do.
Thank you. Ladies, we've had lots of conversations. I see there are a few more questions. If you will put those questions or thoughts into the chat, and Beth will take note of all of those, and we'll have those for people to answer later. But our hour is just about up. I want to thank all of you for having come today. That you've been with us online. You're smiling, you're raising your hand. So we know you're out there, and we know that we're all struggling with some of the same challenges. But looking at all these faces today, everybody give me your best smile so everybody can see you smiling. Yes, we are still bold, beautiful women, and we are going to continue doing what this organization has called us to do. So today, I want you to hear these words from the 28th chapter of the Gospel of Matthew. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything that I have commanded you. And remember, I am with you always to the end of the age. At this time, I'd like you to keep yourselves all muted, but I would like you to recite our purpose statement together. Is it going to pop up on the screen, or are you going to all know it? How many of you know it? Yes, some of you do. Okay. As a community of women created in the image of God, called to discipleship in Jesus Christ, and empowered by the Holy Spirit, we commit ourselves to grow in faith, affirm our gifts, support one another in our callings, engage in ministry and action, and promote healing and wholeness in the church, the society, and the world. We thank you, God, for leading us to this time and place. May you, who have chosen us for these tasks, graciously dwell in us and give us strength and compassion to fulfill them. And all of the people say, Amen. Go in peace and love your neighbor and be bold and beautiful women.
Thanks be to God. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks.